We speak student!
Booker's 7 plot types, a la Shmoop. In Jenny's opinion, there's no book in the world that could possibly compare to Jane Eyre. So imagine how surprised Jenny would be if she were to learn that Charlotte Bronte's masterpiece actually has a lot in common with other rags to riches stories. Well, it goes like this. According to author and journalist Christopher Booker, there are 7 basic plot types that a story could follow. Overcoming the monster, rags to riches, the quest, voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, and rebirth. Now, this whole 7 basic plot thing may seem totally incredible. Think of all the books ever written in the world and all the stories ever told. Can we really sum every plot ever conceived in one of 7 simple ways? Well, let's break it down. In the Overcoming the Monster plot, the protagonist sets out to defeat the bad guy, or girl, or thing, that's threatening the protagonist. The protagonist's home, the protagonist's hot date, etc., etc. You get the idea. An excellent example of the Overcoming the Monster plot in literature is the tale of Beowulf, where a Scandinavian hero does the king of the Danes a huge favor by killing the monstrous Grendel. Then Beowulf helps a brother out again by killing Grendel's mother. Well, in the Rags to Riches plot, the penniless protagonist gets everything he or she has ever wanted. Money, fame, maybe a nose job, before losing it all, growing as a person, and then gaining everything back. In Jane Eyre, after our heroine comes within an I do of getting hitched to a wealthy bigamist, she takes off and proves she doesn't need a man, or even a miraculously obtained fortune, to make it on her own. Mr. Rochester changes for the better, too. It's kind of required of him. After all, he does lose his house, his eyesight, his hand, his crazy first wife, and his beloved fiancée, all because he tries to marry Jane when he's still got Bertha in the attic. So everyone loses, everyone grows, and everyone ends up happy. Well, except Bertha, because she's dead. All right, in the quest plot, the protagonist and his or her buddies set out to find an important object or reach a certain place facing grave peril along the way. Take the Odyssey. Odysseus just wants to get home to his loving wife. But first, he has to survive a Cyclops and the wrath of the Cyclops' dad, and cannibals, and some very dangerous women. All in all, it takes Odysseus years to get home, but what a story he has to tell when he reaches Ithaca. Of course, the suitors don't get to hear it because they're all dead. Then there's the voyage and return plot, where the protagonist goes somewhere exotic, survives everything thrown at him or her, and comes home wiser for the experience. In Lewis Carroll's Adventures in Wonderland, Alice follows a white rabbit down a hole into a world populated by talking creatures.
You talking to me?
Things that cause Alice to change size multiple times, and a homicidal Queen of Hearts. At the end of the story, Alice awakens and realizes that her journey into Wonderland was actually a dream. The comedy plot follows protagonists destined for love, although they have to overcome a lot of obstacles before they get their happy ending. In Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, for example, Viola disguises herself as a dude. Duke Orsino sends Viola the guy to talk the woman he wants to marry, Olivia, into getting hitched. Olivia, however, falls for Viola the guy, while Viola falls for the Duke. Well, we haven't even touched on Viola's presumed dead twin brother, Sebastian. Eventually, the play ends happily once all the cases of mistaken identity are cleared up. But of course we expected this because Twelfth Night follows the comedy plot. The tragedy plot, on the other hand, doesn't have a happy ending. Instead, the protagonist is a villain who bites it in the finale. Shakespeare's Macbeth involves a protagonist who takes some really bad advice from his power-hungry wife. Macbeth consequently murders a monarch and becomes King of Scotland, not that he reigns for long. After everyone figures out he's a regicide, well, he loses his head. And yeah, he totally deserved it. The Rebirth plot features a protagonist who's kind of a jerk but redeems him or herself over the course of the story. In Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, we meet Sidney Carton, an English barrister. Sidney's hard to like. Well, he drinks a lot, he's really depressed and cynical, and he's in love with Lucy Manette, who we all know belongs with Sidney's doppelganger, Charles Darnay. At the end of the novel, however, Sidney breaks Charles out of a French prison and is executed in Charles' place, thus proving that Sidney is, in fact, the king of all that is awesome. So here we have it, 7 basic plots to describe every story in existence. Now, it's entirely possible for an author to take elements of these 7 basic plots and mix them up a little. For example, think of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. There are multiple monsters to overcome, the chief of which is Sauron. There's an overarching quest to destroy the ring, and the hobbits undertake a voyage that leads them all over the map before they eventually return to the Shire. Or what about Victor Hugo's Les Miserables? We see the rebirth plot type in the story arc of Jean Valjean, the thief-turned-nice guy, the overcoming the monster plot type in Valjean's eventual triumph over his nemesis, J.R.R., and the comedy plot type in the romance between Cosette and Marius. Of course, Eponine doesn't get a happily ever after, because she's dead. And that's the story of Booker's 7 plot types. Now that Jenny's learned something new, she's gonna reread Jane Eyre for the millionth time and see how many plot types she can find. You better watch out for overcoming the monster with Bertha Mason, though, Jenny. That lady's a firebug. Good luck with that.
No. You talking to me?
What did the buffalo say to his son as he left for school?
Bye, son. Okay, bad joke, but if you survived it, how about clicking the subscribe button below? And if you're looking for more jokes from yours truly, why not check out our website at www.shmoop.com. And if you want to get updates on what's new, well, check us out on Facebook and Twitter too. Please check our Facebook and Twitter pages, please.